Happy New Year. It's 2019 and I'm going to start off the year with a promise I made to do some avocado dyeing. Of course, there is nothing going on today because it is a holiday, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to do this since nothing is open and I can't do any running around or shopping or anything like that. So, first of all, I want to say I have done a lot of experimenting with avocado dyeing, and everybody that has got a video maybe has their own method. I've tried it their way. I didn't get the results I wanted, and not to say that the results were bad, because it may be that that was the result they wanted. So there's no, I'm not knocking anybody that does it or has a video on avocado dyeing or saying that they're doing it wrong, because they're not, because they are getting results. It's just not the results I was looking for. So I played around and I've done a lot of experimenting. Hopefully this will help you guys get some of the results that maybe you like from some of the avocado dyeing paper that you've seen of mine. So like I said, hopefully it helps you. I'm gonna say this video might be a little long because it is a long process. But I'm going to show you guys how you can shorten it so that if you can't get all of it done in one day and you can only do a certain portion, you can do that and be able to, you know, put your stuff away and come back to it to another day. All right. So I did a lot of research on avocado dyeing, like I said, and tried a lot of stuff. And I also did some other research on avocados just to try and figure out how I can make it better. And I did find out that, which I didn't know, avocado is a fruit. So if you knew that, kudos to you. I did not know that. I thought it was just a veggie. But it is a fruit, and it is they consider it a large berry. And of course the seed inside is called a pit, and the green fleshy portion that we eat is the fruit. And of course you have the outer skin. And as a disclaimer, I want to let you guys know, avocado leaves, bark, the skin, and the pit, they have been documented to be harmful to cats and dogs and other animals. So please don't feed that portion to your animal unless you have already cleared it with your vet and your vet is okay with it, or they say they haven't had any issues with that breed or whatever. But just as a disclaimer, because I would hate for somebody's little lovey-dovey to get you know, sick or you know, something really bad happened to them because they fed them avocado because you watched my video and said, oh, let me just give yeah, please don't. Talk to your vet first, okay? And so with that, I just want to let you know, it is a little bit time consuming because unlike tea or coffee stain where you boil your water, you put your tea bags in, or your coffee where, you know, if you're using instant or coffee, you brew it and then you soak your papers hot. You're not going to do that with avocado. You're going to boil, we're going to go through and we're going to boil it in stages. We're going to get to the color we want. Then we got to let the water cool. Then you can use it and you got to let your paper soak so it soaks up the color. So it is time consuming. It is a cold water process, okay? Also, I have done all my experimenting with 3 avocados. It seems to work the best for me, only because I simply bought them in 3s. Because I can go to Walmart, buy a bag, it has 3 avocados in it, boom, we're good to go, right? I'm pretty sure that you can do it with 1 avocado, 2 avocados, 3 avocados, 4 avocados, and still get the same results that you're looking for, that I'm getting. But I just want to let you know I have not tested it. But I will test it later just to see if I get the same results and let you know. But I use 3 for it. You will need the skin and the pit, okay? We're not going to use any of the mushy green stuff in there. We're going to clean all that out. And you're not going to get just 1 boil out of it. I have boiled up to 7 times. And I'm pretty sure I probably could have gone beyond that. I just was like, at 7, I was ready to quit. So I was done. But you can freeze. So if you boil all of it and keep repeating the process, you can freeze your water dye. And I'm going to show you the last batch I made from like 3 weeks ago, where I froze it. I pulled it out last night and defrosted it, and we're going to dye some fabric in it and show you that I'm still going to get the same results freezing it or doing it fresh. You can freeze the skins and the pit. So if you get the avocados and you don't have time to do your avocado dyeing right away, you can freeze the skin and the pit until you're ready to do it. Okay? Also, I want you guys to know, wear some clothes that you don't care about getting stained, because this is a permanent stain. It's not like coffee or tea where you could probably, I mean, you can certainly take it off and run it under water and clean it out. But whereas with, you know, your coffee and your tea, you can put a little spray shout in there and kind of get the stain out, and a couple washings later, it's gone. You won't do that with avocado. It is going to dye permanently your things. So make sure you wear some clothes that you don't care about, or wear an apron. Also use some old kitchen tea towels, you know, kitchen towels, washcloths, whatever you're going to use to wipe up any spillage or any dribbles or whatever. Okay? And if it gets on your countertop, it will wipe right off if it's still wet. If it does leave a stain, bleach and water, take it right off. Okay? So with that, I'm trying to make this intro a little short, but these are some of the things. I've got a stack of stuff already pulled downstairs, some fabrics and some trims and stuff that I want to do. We're also going to do some, I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to do some different stuff that I haven't done before, some different colored vanilla envelopes and bags, some white, because I want to see how well that comes out, some invoices. I meant to do this the last time I avocado and forgot, but I have these time cards. And just to let you guys know, the whiter the color of the paper or the fabric, the pinker, like the baby pink, I guess, the brighter pink it's going to come out. The darker the paper, or the creamier color that the paper is, the more of that brownish pink you're going to get. Okay, so keep that in mind. And I wanted to try some of these invoices and stuff, or this bookkeeping ledger paper. It's green, but I want to see what color it comes out. And also, I bought this parchment paper from the Dollar Tree because it is a little bit thinner than the Reynolds. And it's great for making some like little bags and stuff with. And because it's thinner, and as you can see, it's a little more porous, I want to see if it will take the dye. So, without any further ado, what you are going to need to do, which I have already done because like I said, I've already cut my avocados and scooped them out and froze them. You will need to take 3 avocados, cut them in half, you know, scoop out your fruit, use it in whatever you're going to do, and I'm going to show you how to clean the skin and the pit and get started. So let's go move down to the kitchen and we'll get started on that. Okay guys, sorry, after some technical difficulty, I got this new little contraption here, and it's supposed to clip to the side of my counter here, and I was having some issues with it. So hopefully we got them figured out. I've got avocados that I had frozen. I got a pot ready. I got to grab a Pyrex. Here is the avocado dye. This is the color we want to get it to. This was that from the last batch that I defrosted. Okay, so like I said, it holds color really well even if you defrost it or freeze it, sorry. And then I've got some little condiment cups ready because we're going to do some testing to show you at different stages what that dye does. I've got all my little tea towels, stained up tea towels that I don't care about, my pot holders that I don't care about getting all dirty and at the ready. Got my ovens, both my little ovens ready. Got a cup of coffee, and this is the big stack of stuff that I am going to avocado dye. And You're probably thinking, out of one batch? No, it might take like 2 or 3 to get these done, but then I'm going to go ahead and I'll boil some additional, so then that way I can freeze it for later, just to, so that when I just want to do 1 or 2 or a little batch of paper, I can do it and I can freeze it, and this is what it, you know, it defrosts, and this is how much you get. Let's get started. Okay, so now we're ready to clean our pits, right? We've got them cut. You got all the fruit taken out of them, and all you have left is the skin in the pit. Now, mine look really brown because I did freeze them. So, we've got all that. Put that aside. I'll throw that away. And we just rinse. So, sorry if it gets a little noisy, but we are going to be cleaning the skins off. Just take a paper towel. You can use your hand if you want. I just use a paper towel and just clean them. This, you want it clean. So, and it's okay if you have a little bit of the green still left in there. You're not going to get it all off. And it's okay if it breaks apart. Just chuck it in the pot. And when you can run your fingers and you don't feel any of that slimy fruit left in there, it's good. You're still going to have some green staining. That's part of the skin itself. And you can use cool water or warm water. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect anything any differently. Okay. Now I haven't thrown my pits in yet. Okay, so as you see, I have not put my pits into the pot yet. And I'm going to show you why here in a second. But when I have found that having both the skin and the pit together, you get the most out of the dye. So you get a darker color from your dye. That if you take just like a grater and just give a little grate to the pit before you put it in the pot, you're going to get a nicer red color. A nicer pink. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little, see? Alright. Okay, so now we have everything in our pot. We need to add 8 cups of water. So I got my Pyrex here, and I'm just going to fill it with tap water. You can use distilled water if you like. But 8 cups, which I think is 2 quarts, or what is that, 64 ounces. And now we're ready to move over to the stove and put it on the boil. Okay, so we're at the stove. Got 8 cups of water, 64 ounces, 64 ounces of water in our pot. And all I'm going to do is turn my oven on, my stovetop on to high, and let it come to a rapid boil. When it comes to a rapid boil, we're going to boil it for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it because I'm sure you guys don't want to sit here even with a fast forward and watch it try to boil. So I will come back when it starts to boil. Okay, we're getting there. Look, it's starting to bubble, but we want to let it boil, come to a rapid boil. So a few more minutes and this will be ready to set the timer for about 10 minutes. Okay, it looks like we are there. We've got bubbles coming up and we're at a pretty good start of a rapid boil. So I'm just going to give it a stir, and as you can see, my spoon has been well seasoned with avocado dyeing. So just give it a stir, set the timer for 10 minutes and just let it boil. Okay guys, we got about 5 seconds left until the timer goes off, and as you can see, it's been boiling for 10 minutes. Okay, so if you look, the water is looking a little brown. You might see a little green in there. our pits are starting to kind of, the skin off the pit is starting to come off a little bit, and that's okay. You can see the pit starts to turn a little bit of that pinkish color. Okay, and that's what we want, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, so now we want to turn our heat down to medium. So like on my dial, I've got high is the highest setting, and then like 5 is my midway point. So just put it to your medium, midway, whatever, and then just let it continue to boil. You're going to boil it for 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes. Okay, and at this stage, like I said, we're going to test the water. So I'm going to take a little bit out and put it in this container that I marked 1. And when it cools, I'm going to put some paper in it and let it sit for 20 minutes to see what kind of color it takes. But as you can see, it's got a little bit of a pink tinge, but not quite where we need it to be, but it does have some pink in it. So I'm going to set it aside and let it cool. And I did mark on the bottom of this little container number 1. And then we'll come back in 20 minutes to continue. Okay, so while this is boiling, I wanted to go ahead and this is from the last batch that I did that I froze and I defrosted. And I don't know if you guys can see or not. Let me see, probably not. Let me see. I'm gonna move the camera just a smidgen, so I hope this doesn't make you guys sick. I'm gonna try and go as slow as possible for you guys. But down at the bottom, you'll see there's some grainy stuff. See, it moves. Don't strain that out. Okay, that is going to help give some of that color. It's going to help your fabric and your papers take in some of that color. So we don't want to get rid of that. We are going to strain the pit and any bits that come off of the skins, but that grainy stuff is going to help with your avocado dye. All right, so I've got some cheesecloth here, or some muslin and cheesecloth and some ribbon that I want to dye. I'm going to do 3 pieces of muslin, and I marked it 20, 120, 140, and 160 because I want to show you guys the different variations in just letting it soak cold and the different colors that it has. So this one, as you can see, I've marked a 20 on it. Okay, and this one we're going to put in, actually what I want to do is put my 60 in first. I'm sorry, my bad. We're going to put our 60 because I'm going to let it soak for an hour. Okay, so we'll put this one in first, and we'll know that it's about done when the 20-minute mark. We'll put another one in for 40, and then so on and so forth. You'll see. So I'm just going to aside. Okay, I'm going to put some cheesecloth in here. Okay, you can see that it stopped boiling and it's starting to you're getting a lot more pink in that water. And that's what we're looking for. So we got about another 6 minutes to go, and I'll come back. Okay, we've got about 10 seconds, and then we get to move on to the last stage of the boil. And okay, let's see. All right, so we're at medium heat. You can see that it's really starting to turn pink at this point, but we still got a little ways to go. And the pits, some of these pits might split open on you. I don't know if I can get it. It's hot. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. Okay. If you look, some of the pit is starting to split. That's okay. You want that. And I'm going to show you on the second, third, fourth, whatever boil we get to why that's important. So it's okay that if they split open, it's okay if the skins fall off, it's all good. All right, so now we've boiled, we came to a rapid boil for 10 minutes. We have now boiled at medium heat for 20 minutes. Now I'm going to turn it all the way down to the lowest setting I have on my stove, and I'm going to let it sit for another 20 minutes. And let me go ahead and, while I'm doing that, before I forget, take a little bit of this water and put it in here. Once again, it appears to have still a little bit of brown in it, but it is much darker than the last batch before it cooled. And I will show you what that, look, this is the just from the first boil after it's cooled. And this, even though it looks lighter, it will get darker as it cools. So, and I'll come back and show you that. And I'm going to add my next piece of muslin, and this one's marked at 40, so it sits for 40 minutes because we've already done the first one at 20. And don't be afraid to shift your fabric around. You may want to. You can lay it in a flat, like a long cookie pan. If you want a very, very even color throughout. Me, I like a little bit of variance, so I just kind of scrunch it in there, move it around, and I get what I get. So, all right, as soon as this 20 minutes is over, we'll come back. So we still got about 6 minutes, but I just wanted to show you guys. Now the water is starting to cool down a little bit. It's obviously not as hot as it was when it was boiling. And some of the avocado peel is starting to break apart. And that's normal. You're going to get that. And the brown skin from the pit will come off. Okay? That's perfectly normal. Don't freak. It's all good. So we've got, like I said, about another 6 minutes, and then we'll be ready to take it off the stove. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes, and so I'm going to turn off the heat to my stove on my pot. I'm going to take a little bit of this water and put it in there. As you can see, this one is quite pink already compared to this one. They look very similar, but this one will get darker. The third one will get darker after the water cools completely. So now we're going to remove it from the heat, from the stove. You can push it back, or what I do is I stick it in the sink with the pot. Everything still sits in it. You want to let it sit until the water completely cools, okay, to the touch. So approximately room temperature, maybe even cooler. You can put it in the pot in a bath of ice if you like. Just make sure that none of that gets into the pot itself. But you're going to leave everything in it and just let it sit until it completely cools. But like I said, it is time consuming, but it's well worth it. Okay, so while we're letting our water cool, I've got the last bit of this muslin that I'm going to, which is the 20. So I want it to sit for 20 minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in my pot. But I wanted to show you guys how much color already this is already taking in. Look at that. It's pink. And it looks kind of grody right now, but I promise once it dries, it's going to look amazing. All right. And also, just to let you guys know that normally about this stage, you're going to start smelling the smell from boiling the avocados. And it's not a putrid, pungent, in your face kind of smell. It smells a little earthy, and it kind of almost reminds me of like wet paper when it starts to dry. That kind of smell. So it's not pungent. It's not going to blow you away smelling it or cooking it, but you will get a small scent from it. So just to let you know. Okay, so we're almost there. About 4 more seconds to go. It's not an exact. I'm just doing it this way. I'm doing it this way so you guys can see that I actually did set it for 20 minutes at a time. I like a darker color, so I let it sit for about an hour. bought. So we've got some different pieces in here at different times, and I just wanted to show you the different colors in them. My water that's in the pot, the dye that's in the pot, is still a little warm, so after 20 minutes, so I'm gonna let it sit, but that's a good thing because that'll give me time to kind of take this out and wring it out, and then put it in the dryer, charge up my phone a little bit, because this is the first time I've used this kind of device. Normally I use my iPad, but I had to use my phone, so and I'll charge it up and download what I've got on video now while it's cooling. One of these corners. Oh, okay, this one was a 40-minute. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. And let's see, this one is the 60-minute one. And then obviously this one is the 20-minute. And then I'm going to squeeze out the rest and go hang it up. I'll put these in the dryer and come back and show you the results on them. Okay guys, I put my stuff in the dryer. My water is still cooling. It's only been a few minutes since the last take. And what I did was I loaded some more sari and some more sari silk and some more trim and some more cheesecloth in here. I'm going to let it sit for an hour. But I am going to set it for every 20 minutes so I can check my water so we can get moving on with this video. Okay, so it has been about another 40 minutes since we checked this last at 20. So it's been about an hour since it came off the stove. And it is cool to the touch. So we are ready to strain this. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and take a little bit of this water, so we can do our little experiment. Okay, and now you can see it's like really, really red, really pink. Okay, so that's the last one, and I'm going to set that over here, and I'm going to put it with the others in just a second. All right, so we need to strain it now that it's sat. So I'm just going to use a glass bowl and a nice thin strainer. Okay. So we're just going to dump everything in there. Give it a shake. Get some exercise this way. And then I'll put everything back in the pot because I'm going to boil it again for another batch. The fabric that I had, or the cheesecloth and everything I had in there, is already drained. I put some more fabric into that, but I think it's just about degraded. When we start to do the paper, I'm going to show you the difference and how to tell when your water dye is degraded, that so much so that your paper won't take any more color from it. And we'll get to that point here in a minute. So let me go ahead and move this back over to where I have my pan set up to soak my papers. Okay, before I move it over there and show you guys how to soak the paper, what I wanted to do is go ahead and restart my next pot. So essentially I'm going to leave all this stuff in here, the skins, all that. And then I'm going to take the pit. And each of these pits, because they've been boiled, are now soft. So you should be able to just run a knife right through it and just cut it in half. That's all you got to do. I mean, they split pretty easy. And this one's already split. It's split open on its own. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Okay. And I noticed that from doing this before, just returning the water, it doesn't get as dark. But if I split the pit, it seems to really help with, it has to have something to do with the pit. So and that's all we're going to do every time, is just split the pit, each of these pits again, into quarters, and then eighths, and then, you know, on and on and on until it either degrades so much that you just can't keep the pieces anymore, or you're just done. So let me go ahead and fill the pot. Another 8 cups, 64 ounces of water, and we'll get it back on the stove to start boiling. Okay, I got my water back on. It's on high. I've got my bowl of fresh dye, and I'm just gonna pour it in this flat cookie pan. And then we're gonna soak some papers. And it's just like fabric. You're gonna soak it for about 20 minutes. Okay. So, and I will say this. I leave my envelopes for last if I'm gonna do them in this pan. If not, I will take a little bit of this and pour it in a separate pan and just kind of build it up. And put my envelopes in there separate. The reason why I do that, I was putting them all together with other papers, and I noticed that my water was degrading quickly. The glue from your envelopes, you know, when you put them in there, it does degrade the dye from here fairly quickly. You're not going to get it to last as long as you will with just normal paper. So just so you know that. Time-wise, I don't know. It just depends, I guess, on the batch, I think. But anyway, so I don't think there's any glue on this. I'm just gonna put the paper, start loading my papers in here. Okay, so I've got this fairly full where I want it to be. I'm not gonna overstuff it. I'm gonna let it sit for 20 minutes, but I am also going to do these 4 little containers. So here's number 1. Let's not mix these up. Here's number 2, 3, and 4. Let me make sure that you guys can see those in camera. Yep. And then I marked 4 little pieces of paper from the first boil, second boil, third boil, and after it's cooled down. So I'm gonna let this boil and let that sit, and then we'll come back, and I'm gonna turn my ovens on to 295 and get them warmed up. Okay, the timer's gone off for the paper. The first thing I want to do is I did tell you 295 Fahrenheit on the oven. I went ahead and cranked it up to 300. It's only 5 degrees more. It shouldn't make that big of a difference, but we'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and do these little tidbits of paper that we did the experiment, that we were doing our experiment with, and see how they come out. And I keep, when I preheat my oven, I put my pans in there so it's nice and hot. And so let me go ahead and pop those in. I'm gonna give those a couple minutes. Okay, so they've been in for about 2 minutes, and they are small pieces of paper, and this is just printer paper. It's like 20-pound paper. So this is from our first boil, and here, put it on the back of some white. And I will show these at the end of the video. This part I may speed up a little bit for you. And I normally let them sit in there for about, I don't know, 2 to 3, 4 minutes, sometimes 6 or 7, just depends on the paper type. And that's how I do my process. Of course, I've got about another minute, and then I turn my pot back down and to low, and I just repeat the process over and over. And I'll kind of show you some of the papers. When I get it all done, I will lay it all out, and I'll do a small little video. Okay, guys, so this is the end of the first batch. And as you can see, the water is not as reddish pink or dark pink as it was before. It's almost kind of like a really light rose, almost a fleshy pink color, okay? But I managed to do all of this with just that first batch. Okay, so pretty much everything you guys see me put in the pile plus another little batch. But I just wanted to show you, this is where you want to change your water. So when your papers will start to get lighter and lighter pink versus this nice dark colored pink. So this one is ready to go. So I'm going to dump that one and refresh with this one and then start a new pot. The great thing about doing this is typically by the time I am done doing all my dyeing and baking, my next pot is typically cool enough so that I can just keep going in a big assembly. So like I said, I will typically get about 6 or 7 pots out of 3 avocados. But, and also I just want to say, this is probably going to end up being a 2-part video because there's quite a bit here. So if you don't see all of it in the first, you'll definitely see the rest of it in the second. If I can tie all of it together and keep it short enough, I will just make the reveal of everything that I avocado dyed out of those 3 avocados in a second video. Alright guys, well thanks for watching so far, and I hope you hang out and see what the results end up being, and we'll talk at you later.